Welcome back. Hey, Technical Brad here. In today's episode of the David Brown 880, we're going to take you back to the restoration of the hood, or bonnet as it is also called. This was the last piece of Brownie that we restored back in the summer of 2022. Now, the hood was in extremely good shape because Brownie was kept under roof, so it was not left out into the elements to where rust could attack the sheet metal and rot it away, the way a lot of old tractors did. Also, we have a good front end on here. This is the original grill piece. We didn't do anything to this other than replace the Live Drive 6 decal on the front. This still has the original foil-backed white stripe on it in the middle. We have the original headlights. They're unbroken and in good shape too. The badge in the middle, now we did replace that, and that will be in the next video. We'll talk about that. The reason that the front end was in such good shape is because of this massive guard that we had on the front of the Freeman loader. And it protected it extremely well from getting bashed in or anything knocked out or broken off of it. So the first part of the video, we're going to show you the process of how we prepped it, primed it, and painted it. We're going to talk about the products that we use and some of the tools that we use to do that. In the second part of the video, we're going to show you the David Brown selectamatic 880 decal installation. These videos are purposely left unedited so that you, the viewer, can get a real-time feel of the struggle of installing these decals. We hope you like our videos. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. That'll help us grow and put out more of these 880 videos. And by all means, leave a comment. It has been really great to hear from all the David Brown owners and enthusiasts from around the world. And we're going to do all of that next. So as you can see, the hood is in really good shape. We have the paint, the original paint, the decals. All of it was in really good shape. It did have a few chips in it. You can kind of see around the front end there. Oil stains there at the bottom where the power steering pump would be. The top of it, I did have to fill in around the middle hole there. That's the silencer. It got bent and got pushed in there a little bit, more of the paint off, and had a little bit of a dent in it. We used the palm sander. Now, I sanded the paint with a 110 medium, and then I switched to an 80 to do the decal. The decal appeared to be a multi-layered decal. You can see how we're sanding through the black, and the red is still there. And even as you looked at it, it just looked like that was multiple layers. Not sure if it was or not. But you can see some of the gray spots here. That's the original primer. That's where we had divots and things in it and chips. And so we wanted to sand that down and feather that out. And here we can see it real good. Once we got it sanded, we washed it with the garden hose, got it all cleaned up. And you can see where the gray primer, that's the original primer coming through the original paint. We feathered that out so that we could get a nice smooth finish once we started applying our primer and, of course, the paint. Once you get to that point, you want it to lay down there really good as well. I'm using the PPG 7-line Industrial Coatings Primer and Paint. This is a red primer. It's a rust-inhibiting primer. I believe it's also a direct-to-metal primer, although we still have the original paint and primer on here. And we're going to start over here. We've got the lid for filling the radiator. I could not get the little chrome handle off of that, so you can kind of see it still there. I'm turning it up. We had I just taped it off with some tape, and I sprayed around it. It worked out pretty well. I just couldn't get the thing off there, and I didn't want to break it. So here we are, we're going to start shooting the rest of it. That's the bottom of the bonnet where I cut it off. And we're just giving that a nice coat of, there again, the 7-line primer from PPG. I'm using an HVLP, high volume, low pressure paint gun. That's a Porter cable. It's about 20 years old. I bought it to do the Javelin, actually. If you saw the video on the Javelin in the beginning. That's the gun I use to spray that. And I've done a couple other vehicles with it as well. Still working good. And here we are spraying it. We start kind of at the front. You just kind of fill it in as you go. Switching hands, of course, because your hands get sore. We're doing it about thirds here, a little under, overlapping it. Now, when you get to the actual painting, I did run the paint from end to end. I didn't overlap it like I'm doing here with the primer. The primer, you're going to sand it anyway, and it's much easier to sand than the paint. So if you get it overlapped and maybe build up a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. You can sand that all out. And here we see a really good technique here. Going around to the other side, making sure we get it all filled in with the red primer. You pay attention to the edges. We're going to prime those too. They do wrap under, or they're bent under there, so you want to get a good coat on them, and also back toward where the driver would sit. You want to get that edge coated quite well as well. And that's what we're doing there. We're getting under that edge. Good technique there, Tech. Of course, wearing a mask. Don't want to be breathing that. Although it really didn't fog up, as you can see, there's not much fog coming off of it. It did lay on there pretty good. Even the paint did a good job of not getting the barn or the room real cloudy like some of these automotive paints in particular can do. And so we get all nice good coat on that, and then we let that dry, and we're going to sand that with 220. And then you can see a little bit of gray on here. That's Rust-Oleum Automotive Primer in a 12-ounce spray can. I used it because it's much easier to do that than get the gun out, and we had just some touch-ups on there, a little bit more sanding to do. We got that done. We start with the white paint. I started at the front of it here around the headlights and run that one, and then the same process, starting at the bottom, working my way up, only going from front to back. We did 2 coats. It turned out beautiful, and then we had a bug get in it, and the bug crawled about 12 inches or so and died, and I had to sand it down and put a 3rd coat on there. Fortunately, we had just enough paint in the gallon to do 3 coats on it. We let this cure for about 6 weeks, and then it will be time to do, of course, the David Brown decals. Welcome back. Hey, Technical Brad here. All right, so what we are going to do now is we're going to put our David Brown selectamatic 880 decal on our hood. Now, I know you're saying, Tech, what's the easiest way to do this? Now, I really don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do this one, obviously with the hood laying on its side. And we're just going to start at this end. We're going to peel this and stick it and work our way back and hope that we can keep it all lined up and looking good. Now, I'm going to point out one thing here though first. Let me get the other emblem. We have 2 decals. They both say David Brown selectamatic 880. But if you notice, the edging's different on this. So this angle here is actually for the other side, and this angle here matches up with the angle here. So this angle matches this angle of our stamp out of our hood, and then the back angle, if we can see here, this end angle is a little bit more than what this one is. Not by much, but a little bit more of an angle. So this one goes on the other side, and this one goes on this side. Now what I did is I went through here, and I had a couple of bugs that were stuck in our paint and whatnot, so I took some 220 and kind of sanded that out smooth, because we don't want any debris under the thing. I'm gonna wipe it down. I didn't sand this, I didn't do anything. We're going right over the paint with this. And then we're wiping it down, get the dirt off of it. These decals came from David Brown Parts over in England. Actually, I'm going to put my glasses on. I can see my eyes struggling already. All right, so peel this back a little bit. We're going to tuck that under. We're going to bring this up. Hold that so it lays relatively flat. little bit low. We're still a little low. I think that's a little better. Looks to me like we're going downhill a little bit there. Boy. How much sticky we're gonna have left on this thing. Ah, dang it. May have been easier to do this. Pretty darn close. That's pretty darn close there, guys. And there we have our company. There we go. Get this air pocket out of there, like so. There we go, guys. That's looking pretty good. Got a little bump up there. All right. Little air bubbles in there will work out. All right. There we go. We'll go ahead and roll it over and we'll do the other side. All right, so we've rolled the hood over for Brownie, and now we're going to do our other decal on there. Hopefully this one goes as smooth as the last one went. Like I say, just kind of wiping this down, make sure all the dirt and dust is off of it. I did wash this or wiped it off with wet water and whatnot. And yeah, we got a little dent in this one. That's a beauty mark. And this one starts like this. So there again, we're going to start it and peel it back. Get it lined up from the very beginning, and that's the problem. These are very long decals, so you can kind of line this edge up down here in the front. Once you get it started, it's just a matter of walking it back. And you just kind of want to run your hand back along here because you don't want to get air trapped in it. So you try to keep that, you know, as squeegee as we can. So, measurement here. Same as the other. Same as the other. That's good. Like I say, all the decals came from David Brown Parts Ltd. Over in England. And so they do a real good job. Well, it looks like that falls off really bad there, doesn't it? Not by much. Not by much, so I think that's pretty good. Now, it appeared to me that the original emblems that said David Brown selectamatic were multiple pieces. They were built up in layers, about 3 layers. You had the black, the red, and then the white on there. And it seemed like they were 3 individual stickers as I was sanding through them. But you know, I don't know for sure how they did that originally back in 1966. I know the emblems on all the PTO emblems and that kind of stuff, the hydraulic emblems, they were actually on a piece of aluminum. I think I have one laying over here. So this was for the control on the hydraulic lift, the 3-point hitch. And of course, it was yellow here to where the new one, that's white. But that's actually on a piece of like aluminum, thin aluminum. And then it had glue on there, and it was glued on, and it had a rivet at both ends of it that stuck it on there to where, of course, these are all, the new ones are all just stick on like this one was. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know why they did it that way either, but that's kind of interesting. So, all right, there we go. Now, we're going to go ahead and get the tractor prepped to put the hood back on.